The modern writer Dmitry Bykov once said, and he probably heard it somewhere else, a poet should write about the most important thing. And if at another time I would say that the main thing is love, now in my life the feeling that prevails over others is fear. Fear of living. The first sketch was made about a year ago. At that time I did not think to create something serious. If you watch my previous video about what my 2022 was like, you will easily understand that in the hustle of practical tasks to meet basic needs, it was difficult to find enough free time for the process of conceiving and implementation of a more metaphysical ideas. But still, I found it important to capture the feelings I experienced at that moment. The sketch expressed, for the most part, the despair of losing sight of a life path, comparable to a broken umbilical cord. Lack of understanding where and how to move force you to curl up into a ball, bashfully cover your face, and dream of returning to nothing. As if one evening I went to bed at home, and in the morning I woke up in the desert. There was not a soul around. The flames of the merciless sun burned the exposed parts of the body and dried the throat. Irritated eyes could barely make out the horizon line. Then you get up, timidly look around, and a wave of nervous activity sweeps over you, forcing you to move and do at least something significant, without having a clear answer to the question, why? Therefore, after a few months, the idea for the picture began to mature and gain juice. The idea of the desert has acquired a travel narrative. The broken thread of the umbilical cord was transformed into a barely perceptible, held on the fingertips, but still a red thread of fate, leading somewhere away. Despair gradually began to be replaced by declaration. The child died, but under his remains, incarnated and lifted the burden, is no longer a man, but a creature brought to the point of absurdity. Exhausted, half dissolved, burned, but a living creature. You can already call him something. He can do something. A hermit wrapped in a shroud already has the meaning of existence. He has a history of the past and the uncertainty of the future. As for biblical references, crowns of thorns and the halo effect, I honestly don't know. I suppose the influence of the general tendency to search for meanings. Still, I'm more of an architect than an artist. I'm in love with the symphony of clear lines and precise angles. I crave for the perfect geometry of the composition. Separate elements pierce and enhance the image by dividing into quarters and thirds. With the gradual change of scale through a geometric progression, simple forms acquire a false complexity. Gamma, pastel, more nuanced compared to the usual manner. The colors are soft and not gusty. There is no harsh shadows. Or maybe fear speaks to me. Again fear, but this time the fear of surrendering to the creative chance. Resources are so expensive, but not too expensive truly, because if you perceive this activity as a matter of life and not as a hobby, then in fact it's just a trifle. I hate redoing. This already looks like the truth. If an idea doesn't work the first time, it's likely to drop dead immediately. This is my big sin, which is probably holding me back from a better life. The moment when I surrender to the freedom of impulse will someday be for me a kind of change of eras. I will either go a step higher, or it will turn out that there was nothing to liberate. And in this case, a stupor, crisis, recomprehension, and all that stuff will follow. I continue to test myself by reducing the number of used colors, while maintaining completeness of expression. I also tried the method of forming images without chaining to the realism of human physiology. I am looking for the limits to which the human body can be exaggerated in some places and geometrically simplified in others, in order to increase artistic expressiveness and, at the same time, maintain recognition. So far, I have settled on the presence of eyes, and hands at least, even if one of the hands looks like a beak. Working out the details is the most enjoyable part, which skillful artists can stretch over decades. But, as I said earlier, I just don't like to redo anything. So, unfortunately, stretching this moment as opposed to the ideating stage after a certain limit becomes unbearably difficult. Unless, after several months of living with an already supposedly finished painting, some small detail of it jars you so much that you have to correct it. Probably, in general, my process of creating a painting can be compared with sexual relations. Long courtship for a partner, desire, building one-sided expectations and images with their inevitable destruction, then consensus on different conditions, intercourse, orgasm, routine, return to the beginning if there is still strength. I said drawing almost an icon, but in terms of the ratio of time intervals, the hit is suspiciously miraculous.